times, you know.
We are back on Morning Line. It's our final segment this morning, talking national politics. 737-7587. If you'd like to join in the conversation, I will say this. You know, with regard to President Trump, and kind of piggybacking a bit on what Brian said, and he all along had said early on that he thought the president would win, and of course he did.
Great.
Until someone steps up and beats him, he's the man. I mean, and that's just it every time. And I, you know, those who doubted, and early on in his campaign, like in prior runs, I had my doubts. I don't doubt the man, and to underestimate him is a big mistake. I think that you know, until someone steps up, he. And
again, you know, somebody's. I don't know, you know, how conscious this is or not. You know, is he just so high energy, or is he just disorganized? But he does manage to keep himself in the center of things almost every day. I mean, it is very close to reality TV.
The master of media.
Yes.
He is a master, and that's paid off. Don't for a second think his successes on television didn't contribute to his ability to win. You see that time and again with folks who are in media. I mean, like, you know, Ronald Reagan, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse Ventura, and on this level, Donald Trump. And he is a master. The way he's, I think, would you agree that he, regardless of what happens with him down the road, has changed politics forever? In terms of, there will never be another Donald Trump quite like him, of course, but that future politicians are going to take pages out of his book, from Twitter to how they handle debates to everything.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, in my judgment, he has really lowered the norms of political discourse. And I hope we have, you know, I hope we have sort of a counter reaction to that. I think you can be very forthright. You can be straightforward as to what you think without always being put, you know, always coming up with nicknames for people and that sort of thing. And I hope that does not become a.
But the thing about that, I agree at any level when, you know, dirty politics or whatever you want to call it, and it's not just certainly Donald Trump. A lot of candidates do that, but that what he does, for some reason, does resonate with voters, especially some of whom are angry and felt that politicians weren't hit. I mean, your point's right, but when they hear him, you know, call a name of someone that maybe, you know, an American doesn't like, they kind of like it.
Right.
And, you know,
but what, you know, how do you do that to somebody like John McCain? I mean, that's what I don't, you know. Yes, there are some people that are deserving of these kind of things.
When he called him, I worry about the nuclear thing, but he called him Rocket Man, I kind of laughed. Yeah. I did, because that guy's reprehensible, you know, and good for Donald Trump. But yeah, with others like John McCain or others, or some of his colleagues that he ran against.
Right.
You know, but I just wonder if it's changed the discourse, you know, because however you feel about it, it's been successful, at least this first time through, right?
Well, and again, midterms will tell us something, but you know, you're going to expect some slippage no matter what happens. That's almost always, as we talked about, happens in these off-year elections.
Yeah, it's a standard thing. So as far as in the state of Tennessee right now, some key races, as we've talked about. We mentioned Diane Black, and we mentioned Marsha Blackburn running against Phil Bredesen for Corker's Senate seat.
I think that's going to be a highly contested race.
You think it'll be a tight?
I do. I mean, I think Bredesen, you know, both as mayor and as governor, you know, left a pretty good legacy, and you know, she certainly has a lot of, you know, a lot of passion among her supporters.
What was your take of that? There was a brief flirtation with Corker getting back into it. I didn't really understand it, because I think Blackburn is a good candidate. Why were they going to him thinking?
Again, I think Corker fits the model of the, you know, the traditional Tennessee national figures were almost always moderate. And Al Gore is actually an example. You know, sometimes he's painted otherwise, but you know, basically a fairly moderate figure.
Like Lamar Alexander, and Howard Baker, Fred Thompson.
She's much farther to the right there, and some people are saying that's not the traditional Tennessee. You know, Bredesen would almost fit more the center, you know, political person than she would.
I see. Okay, but as we know now, Corker is out, and it's going to really come down to the two that are in there now. We have another Brian. Brian, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hi, Brian.
The gentleman with you there, I couldn't catch his name, but good morning to you.
Good morning.
I I wanted to ask y'all what kind of job y'all think Trump is doing, since he's already running for. He looks like he's going to run for re-election. And do you think he's doing a good job so far in his presidency? And I'll get off and listen.
I think, like with any president, okay, there's good and bad.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's done everything fantastic, but I'm not going to bash him and say he hasn't done anything good. The economy's doing pretty darn good.
Right.
Now, can he take all the credit for it? Probably not all of it, but I'm telling you, some of the tax cuts and things like this, people vote their pocketbook. Right. Jobs are out there. The stock market's had some up and downs, but it's solid. I mean, the economy's humming, and I think he can take some credit for that.
He certainly is taking credit for it.
I guess he's the one up there, and he should. Now, he's never just one person, but I think he certainly hasn't killed the economy at this point, and we'll see if the tariffs do.
One of the ironies about the tax cuts is, in recent years, some of the Democratic presidents have actually been better with budget deficits than some of the Republicans have. You know, Reagan was a good example of this. He did a lot of what he promised, but he didn't say much about the deficit, and it really ballooned under him.
Sure.
You know, it's a lot of complaints that it was doing so under Obama, when you at least had some reason for it, because the country was in a depression, and, you know, classic economic theory tells you that in such times deficit spending can be sort of a stimulus. I think we have yet to see whether, you know, did we need the latest stimulus that we got from the tax cut, or will it result ultimately in overheating the economy?
Yeah, which they wonder on that. But anyway, it's going now, so it's hard to say. The voters will decide, you know, and like I think it's not wise to take too much away from these midterms, even though I think clearly the Pennsylvania one, simply because it was such a Republican stronghold, if the Democrat does hold on, that might be some indicator that some folks who did vote for Trump for change are having second thoughts.
Even if he doesn't hold on, it's not so much who wins or loses, because that district is probably going to be gone anyway because of reapportionment. But it's the perceived loss of a 20% gain down to almost nothing, or, you know, possibly in the losing column. So even if the Republican pulls out a win, psychologically it's something of a, you know, of a loss.
Okay. As far as stability on the staff and all of that, we've seen, you know, the changes come. That happens, I guess, but more in this administration?
A lot more in this one, and particularly for, you know, secretaries of state usually hang around quite a while.
There's a reason that you would like to have consistency there, I would imagine, right? Because they get to know the foreign leaders, and now you have someone new coming in that has to reestablish those contacts.
And, you know, one advantage, I mean, Pompeo is hardly new to the field.
Yeah.
So Tillerson really, I mean, I was going to say oil baron, I guess that's not the right term, but oil executive. He would have known some foreign leaders, but, you know, not as a fellow diplomat.
You know what's an interesting side light to this that I thought was kind of significant, that the president now, by moving Pompeo, has now made a woman
the first
head of any of the intelligence agencies. Yes, not confirmed yet, but it'll be the first woman to head up NSA, CIA, FBI ever.
Right.
And I'm sorry, her name's escaping me.
Jenna something or another.
Yeah, but the confirmation's coming up. But that's just it's neither here nor there, though. I think that's significant for women to realize that someone could head up one of these agencies.
Gina Haspel.
Gina Haspel.
Yeah.
Deputy Director of the CIA will be the one to come in there, and at this point, she still needs to be confirmed, correct?
Right. Yes,
but she's
as will Pompeo. I mean,
as will Pompeo, and
the biggest thing for her is, you know, she supervises so-called black site in Thailand, you know, during the war on terror, and there's some question, did she also, you know, burn some tapes and that sort of thing?
Well, the black site meaning that's where torture occurred, but at the time I saw they were saying she was acting on the orders from the president, and with the attorney general saying at the time, this was not illegal.
No, that's correct.
So she's following the orders. So again, torture, you know, how that played out, waterboarding and destroying video of that perhaps. But even if that's the case, I guess she could be tainted by it, but she was just following orders.
Right.
And you wonder, well,
sometimes that works as a defense. Sometimes
it doesn't. You know, I mean, but when you have the AG telling you that it's legal, then I guess who are you to dispute that?
Right.
Yeah, all right. So on that front, just coming back to Tennessee, then What do you think is going to be the more hotly contested race, the governor's race or the Senate race? We've got Diane Black and Carl Dean essentially, and then at the other level you have Blackburn and Bredesen.
I mean, you would think that Republicans would have an advantage in this state in both contests.
Yep.
But I think this this could be a repeat of Pennsylvania, in that my perception is that both of these Democratic candidates have pretty good name recognition. They're experienced. They're not regarded as Pelosi Democrats.
The more moderate Democrats.
They sort of fit the traditional mold of the Tennessee politician that we were talking about. So I think we got a potential for two really good races.
Well, the key for them is if there are some moderate Republicans who choose to vote Democrat. If that doesn't happen, then the Republicans will hold serve in this state. But you wonder, Tennessee is still very, very Republican.
Yes.
But I wonder how that will play out. And maybe that was one of the concerns about bringing Corker back in, because you want to get those more moderate Republicans who may not agree with everything that Marsha Blackburn goes with, right?
Yes.
Wow. So much happening on this front. And I'll say this, when this all happened, I mean, there's always something.
Again, it's reality TV.
I know you're in politics, but from the outside looking in, as you saw, and obviously we have two former Nashville mayors running now for key races here, but what happened to Megan Barry? Holy cow. I'm just wondering.
Sad.
That's as local politics you get into, but just how quickly that happened on that one day. But when you say sad, it's sad for the city. There are people going to say it's not sad for Megan Barry. There are many people out there saying, look, she did what she did. She made her own bed. See ya.
Well, and right. I'm not saying she shouldn't have been forced out.
Right.
I'm just saying that and that's to go back to Stormy Daniels, not for the salaciousness, but what got Clinton in trouble?
Yes.
It was something, I don't know if more or less serious, but related to this kind of thing. And possible payoff. Sometimes that's far worse than the conduct that you're trying to cover up. So there are a lot of unknowns that are still out there.
Oh, there are. Well, we'll never know with what else was there with the mayor, because that's settled, and it's good. That's all settled basically on one day last Tuesday, and we can move on beyond that. As far as you're right. What happened to President Clinton and the Monica Lewinsky and all of that. Whether or not Stormy Daniels is ever able to tell anything, I'm having a hard time imagining what she has to say that could damage Donald Trump at this point. I mean, with other things that have come out. I mean, seriously,
it was sort of baked in.
Why are they
are
they so upset about even letting her talk now? Why would they have done that? I can see before the campaign, but now, is it a big deal? I wonder what she has. Is there something more there?
I just
can't imagine. I think she just wants to cash in, is what I think she wants to do.
Sure.
She's right now, in this country, the most famous porn star in the world. When you think about it, she just is.
No, I
can't name any other names of porn stars for you, but I know her, right? So, Professor,
fair enough.
It is a pleasure having you on.
Same here.
We will see you again soon as more things develop.
Okay,
all right?
hopefully we'll have another couple basketball wins by then.
Yeah, go MTSU.
Yes.
All right, we'll take a break, and I'll be back to wrap things up right after this.